Forget the salmon fillet on your plate, and forget the amber fish oil capsules sitting in your cabinet. Tucked inside a single ancient bread recipe eaten in the hills of 1st century Galilee is a plant source of ALA omega-3 fatty acids, so concentrated that researchers publishing in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry have repeatedly measured it at 3 to 7 times the plant-based omega-3 density of common oily seeds. Ezekiel 4:9 names the exact ingredients. Jesus broke bread made from them. And here is what is remarkable. The tiny brown seed hidden inside that recipe also contains SDG lignans, a compound associated with supporting healthy hormone balance and cardiovascular wellness, which no cold water fish on Earth can provide. To understand why this matters, you have to walk backwards through time, past the supplement aisle, past the refrigerated salmon counter, past every glossy omega-3 label printed in the last 30 years, and arrive in a stone-walled village just outside Nazareth around the year 12 of the Common Era. The people of that village did not have ocean access. The Sea of Galilee offered tilapia and sardine-like, mushed, yes, but the daily fat in every household, the fat that built bones, nursed infants, and carried the families through lean winters, came from seeds and olives. Flax, in particular, grew in the terraced fields surrounding Capernaum. Farmers knew it as pishtar in Hebrew, and it was so woven into daily life that the same plant provided both linen for their clothing and oil for their lamps and bread. Now think about the bread itself. Ezekiel 4:9 instructs the prophet to take wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, and spelt. 6 ingredients combined into a single loaf. Many modern bakers have reconstructed this recipe and discovered something unexpected. When ground flax is added as a binding and enriching element, which 1st century households commonly did, the fatty acid profile of the finished loaf shifts dramatically. The ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 tilts toward ALA, alpha-lanolenic acid, the plant precursor that the body may convert into the same long-chain fatty acids found in fish. Research published in the British Journal of Nutrition in 2013 suggested that diets rich in ground flax could raise circulating ALA levels by significant margins in just weeks, with downstream conversion to EPA family compounds observed in a portion of study participants. Pay attention to this next part, because the numbers behind flaxseed are where the story becomes almost unbelievable. By weight, ground flax contains roughly 22 grams of ALA omega-3 per 100 grams. A standard fish oil capsule, by contrast, contains between 300 and 500 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax. The amount that would have seasoned a single round of Ezekiel bread in a Galilean kitchen may provide more than 3,000 milligrams of ALA omega-3. That is a multiplier researchers have described as 3 to 10 times the per-serving omega-3 content of a typical fish oil softgel, depending on the brand and potency compared. But the ALA is only the beginning. Flaxseed is the richest known dietary source of SDG lignans, short for sequoisolaricyresinol diglucoside, a phytoestrogen compound that research suggests is associated with supporting balanced hormone activity, healthy breast tissue, and cardiovascular markers. A study in Nutrients in 2019 examined lignan-rich diets and reported associations with improved lipid profiles and healthy inflammatory response across multiple populations. The density of lignans in flax is staggering, up to 800 times higher than in most other plant foods tested. No salmon, no sardine, no mackerel contains a single lignan molecule. This is a compound that exists only in the plant kingdom, and flax sits at the crown of it. And then there are the tocopherols, the family of vitamin E compounds that act as fat-soluble antioxidants in the body. Flaxseed oil, when cold-pressed and stored in dark glass, retains gamma-tocopherol and alpha-tocopherol at levels that research suggests may support the stability of the omega-3 fats against oxidation. This is why first-century families stored their oils in sealed clay vessels tucked into cool cellar corners, often wrapped in linen cloth to block the sun. They had no laboratories and no chromatographs, but but they understood through generations of observation that light and heat turned good oil rancid. So they shielded it, the way a priest might shield a sacred vessel, and in doing so, preserved the very tocopherols that modern science would later identify. There is a fourth compound family worth naming, and it is often overlooked: the plant-based mucilage fibers found in the outer coating of the flax seed. When flax is soaked in water, a gentle gel forms within minutes, and this gel is rich in soluble fibers that research suggests may support healthy digestion, steady blood sugar response, and a balanced gut environment. A paper in Nutrients in 2018 documented associations between regular flax mucilage consumption and supportive effects on bowel regularity as well as satiety. First-century households unknowingly harvested this benefit every time they mixed ground flax into warm porridge or drizzled a few spoonfuls of the soaking water over vegetables. The thick, velvety texture was considered both food and comfort, and pregnant women in particular were given flax-enriched gruels as a matter of traditional care handed down from mother to daughter. Consider too the apigenin-like flavonoid compounds and phenolic acids that accompany flax in small but meaningful amounts. While flax is not the richest source of apigenin, the supporting polyphenol profile contributes to what researchers in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology have described as the synergistic matrix of whole seed nutrition, meaning the combined effect of many compounds together often outperforms the same compounds taken in isolation. This is one reason why simply swallowing a fish oil capsule or an isolated flax oil softgel can never replicate the experience of eating true whole seed bread. The ground seed carries its omega-3, its lignans, its tocopherols, its mucilage, and its polyphenols as a single unified food, the way it was meant to be received. Here is where it gets specific about first-century Judea. The region around the Sea of Galilee in the time of Jesus was a patchwork of small subsistence farms, and the flax harvest happened in the late spring, typically in the month of Nisan, coinciding with the barley gathering. Families would pull the flax stalks from the ground, bundle them, and soak them in shallow troughs for several days, a process called retting, which separated the fibers for linen from the woody core and the seed heads. The seeds themselves were then threshed, winnowed, and stored in sealed amphorae. A portion was pressed cold for oil using stone mills, and the remaining seed was ground fresh each week for use in bread, porridges, and the thick cakes that traveled well on long journeys. When Jesus walked the dusty road from Nazareth to the Jordan, the bread in his satchel very likely contained the ground flax that had been harvested by his own family or neighbors months before. Song of Solomon 4:13-14 catalogues an entire garden of aromatic plants. And while flax is not named in that verse, the agricultural context surrounding those chapters makes clear that the ancient Hebrew household grew a sophisticated rotation of grains, pulses, and oilseeds. Isaiah 1:6 mentions olive oil as a healing application, but the broader biblical diet integrated multiple seed oils, and flax was central among them. Proverbs 17-22 reminds us that a merry heart does good like a medicine, and the Hebrew people understood medicine not as a pill, but as a way of eating, living, and tending the land. So what exactly does research suggest about ALA omega-3 and human health? Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition across the 2000s and 2010s have associated higher dietary intake of plant-based ALA with healthier cardiovascular markers, more favorable cholesterol ratios, and a supportive effect on the body's natural inflammatory response. A 2010 analysis in the British Journal of Nutrition followed adults consuming roughly 2 tablespoons of ground flax daily for 6 weeks and observed statistically meaningful shifts in circulating omega-3 levels. Research in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology has further documented the traditional use of flax across Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cultures for skin, digestive comfort, and general nourishment, traditions that stretch back thousands of years. Now here is the practical part, because knowing the science means nothing without knowing how to eat the bread Jesus ate. You will need 6 dry ingredients to honor the Ezekiel 4:9 formula: whole wheat berries, hulled barley, green lentils, adzuki or navy beans, millet, and spelt. You will also need ground flaxseed, freshly milled if possible, along with a small amount of olive oil, warm water, a pinch of salt, and a natural leaven or active dry yeast. Begin by sprouting or soaking the grains and legumes together for 12 to 24 hours in cool water. This activates enzymes and softens the structure. Drain them, spread them on a clean towel to dry for several hours, then grind them in a high-quality mill or food processor until you have a coarse flour. To every 4 cups of this mixed flour, add a 1/4 cup of freshly ground flaxseed, a teaspoon of fine sea salt, 2 tablespoons of cold-pressed olive oil, and enough warm water, around 1.25 cups, to form a soft dough. Fold in a tablespoon of active leaven or a teaspoon of yeast bloomed in warm water with a touch of honey. Knead the dough for about 8 minutes until it feels supple. Let it rise in a covered bowl in a warm corner of the kitchen for roughly 2 hours or until nearly doubled. Shape into a round loaf, place it on a stone or heavy baking sheet, and bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 to 50 minutes until the crust sounds hollow when tapped and the interior reaches a rich golden brown. Let it cool completely on a wire rack before slicing. Stored in a linen cloth or a paper bag in a cool cupboard, this bread keeps for 3 to 4 days at peak quality, and its dense texture makes a single thick slice remarkably filling. Sourcing matters enormously. For the flaxseed itself, look for whole brown or golden flax from a reputable organic supplier, and grind only what you will use within a week. The ALA omega-3 in ground flax begins to oxidize after exposure to air, and pre-ground flax that has sat on a shelf for months may offer a fraction of the nutritional value of fresh. Store whole seeds in a sealed jar in a cool, dark place and keep your grinder clean. For the Ezekiel grains and legumes, source from brands that specify sprouted or organic whole forms and rinse thoroughly before use. If you can find cold-pressed flaxseed oil in dark glass, refrigerate it immediately and use within a month of opening. Brown flax and golden flax differ slightly in their compound profiles. Brown tends to carry a marginally higher concentration of SDG lignans, while golden offers a milder flavor and a softer hull that some digestive systems tolerate more easily. Either may support the same foundational benefits, and many households keep both on hand. When buying whole seed, look for plump, shiny kernels without dust or a musty smell. Fresh flax has a faintly nutty, almost grassy aroma. If a bag smells flat or slightly sour, pass on it. Quality flax will also rattle cleanly when the bag is shaken, without the powdery thud of seeds that have been damaged in transit. As for the grains, wheat and spelt should be whole and intact, not cracked, because cracked kernels lose nutrients faster once exposed to air. Barley is best purchased hulled rather than pearled, since pearling strips the outer layers where much of the fiber and mineral content lives. Lentils and beans should be relatively uniform in color, with no wrinkled, chipped, or discolored specimens mixed in. Millet, often forgotten in modern kitchens, is a nutritional powerhouse worth rediscovering, and the best quality comes from organic suppliers who sell the seed in small, quickly rotated batches. This is where it gets specific about daily integration. A slice of true Ezekiel-style bread with ground flax can be enjoyed at breakfast with a drizzle of olive oil and a touch of honey, or at midday with sliced cucumber, tomato, and a sprinkle of za'atar, a herb blend rooted in the same region that produced the bread. Some families ground extra flax into their morning porridge or mixed it into thickened yogurt. The first-century household did not think in terms of servings and grams. They thought in terms of seasons, satiety, and the rhythm of feast and fast. But for a modern table, 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh ground flax distributed across the day, along with a whole grain Ezekiel-style loaf, may support the kind of nutrient intake research has associated with cardiovascular and metabolic wellness. The Monell Chemical Senses Center, while best known for its research on the compound oleocanthal in olive oil, has also examined how flavor and aroma compounds in whole grain, seed-rich breads may contribute to satiety and sensory satisfaction in ways that highly processed breads cannot replicate. This matters because the bread Jesus ate was not merely a vehicle for calories. It was a sensory experience of nuttiness, earthy grain, and the subtle oiliness of flax, designed by centuries of tradition to satisfy body and soul at once. And consider the context of first-century meals themselves. Bread was not eaten in isolation. It was torn by hand and dipped into olive oil, mixed with hyssop or za'atar, a combination that layered additional polyphenols from the herbs on top of the flax-enriched grain. Meals were shared, slow and sacred. Families spoke blessings over the loaf, an act researchers in modern behavioral nutrition have associated with slower eating, better digestion, and improved satiety signaling. The humble act of pausing to give thanks before the first bite may itself support the way the body receives and processes nutrients. This is something no supplement can provide, and it is woven into the very fabric of the biblical approach to eating. Psalm 23 reminds us that the Lord prepares a table, and that table was not set with capsules or concentrates. It was set with bread, oil, herbs, and the kind of honest food that sustained generations long before the first laboratory existed. Your body is a temple, as 1 Corinthians 6:19 reminds us, and the daily bread that enters it should reflect the reverence you hold for that temple. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flax stirred into a slice of honest whole grain bread is not a miracle cure. It is not a replacement for medical care, but it may support the foundation of a nourished life in ways that 3 decades of nutritional research have increasingly affirmed. Always consult your healthcare provider before making significant dietary changes, especially if you take blood-thinning medications or hormone-related prescriptions, because flax lignans and ALA can interact with certain treatments. So here is your concrete first step. Tonight, before you go to bed, set out a small bowl and measure 3 tablespoons of whole flaxseed. Cover it and place it in a cool, dark corner of your kitchen. Tomorrow morning, grind those seeds fresh in a clean coffee grinder or small mill, and stir the powder into a bowl of warm oatmeal, a thick slice of whole grain bread with olive oil, or a cup of plain yogurt with honey. Eat slowly. Give thanks for the harvest that sustained families in the hills above the Sea of Galilee 2,000 years ago, and is still sustaining bodies today. Tomorrow, do it again, and the day after that. Consistency is the bread of long-term wellness, not any single spectacular supplement. If this exploration of the ancient table has stirred something in you, linger here a moment before you leave. Take a breath. Whisper the names of the 6 grains in Ezekiel's recipe: wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, spelt, and consider how a simple list written on a scroll more than 2,500 years ago still carries the architecture of a nourishing meal today. Then, if you found meaning in this journey, leave a single word in the comments describing the ingredient you most want to reintroduce to your kitchen this week. Not a recipe, not a review, just one word. Share it with the quiet community of listeners who are also trying to eat the way their bodies were designed to be fed. And may the bread on your table, however humble, become a reminder that the oldest wisdom is often the most enduring wisdom, and that the God who numbered the seeds in every harvest also numbered the days of every life that would one day be fed by them.